The sun cast long shadows over the Wyoming prairie as Lucy Walker knelt in the dust, the freshly turned earth of her son's grave still dark against the parched ground. Her fingers traced the crude wooden marker where she had carefully carved, Benjamin Walker, 1877-1883. 6 years. 6 beautiful, fleeting years with her golden-haired boy before typhoid had stolen him away 3 days ago. Lucy's tears had dried up hours ago, leaving her eyes raw and her throat parched. The townspeople had paid their respects that morning, offering condolences and covered dishes before returning to their lives. Now, as the day waned, she remained alone with her grief, the enormity of it pressing down on her chest until each breath felt like a battle. The sound of approaching hoofbeats barely registered. Lucy didn't look up, didn't acknowledge the rider who dismounted nearby. Only when boots appeared at the edge of her vision did she realize someone had joined her vigil. "Madam." The voice was deep, respectful. Still, she couldn't bring herself to respond. A tall figure knelt beside her, his shadow falling across the grave. Lucy caught the scent of leather, horses, and the open trail. A stranger, then. Not one of the townspeople who'd been avoiding her gaze since her husband Thomas had abandoned them last winter. "I don't mean to intrude," he said softly. "I was passing by and—" His words trailed off as he noticed the small size of the grave. Lucy finally looked up. The man beside her wore the dust of long travel. His face was weathered but kind beneath the brim of his hat, dark hair curling at his collar. His eyes, when they met hers, held a depth of understanding that startled her. "My son," she whispered. 6 years old. The stranger removed his hat and held it against his chest. "I'm truly sorry for your loss, madam." Lucy nodded, returning her gaze to the grave. "Thank you. But words don't fill the emptiness." They sat in silence for several minutes, the prairie wind stirring the wildflowers she'd placed on the mound. "I lost my sister when she was 7, he finally said. 30 years ago now, but some days it feels like yesterday." Lucy didn't respond. What could she say? That the pain would eventually fade? She couldn't imagine a time when she wouldn't feel this hollowness. The sun dipped lower, painting the horizon in fiery oranges and reds. Soon it would be dark, and she'd have to return to her empty cabin. The thought nearly broke her. As if reading her thoughts, the stranger spoke again. "You shouldn't be alone with this burden, madam." He shifted to face her fully, his eyes capturing hers with unexpected gentleness. "Let me carry your tears." The simple offer not to take away her pain, but to share its weight unleashed something inside her. Lucy's shoulders began to shake as fresh tears welled up and spilled over. Without hesitation, the stranger placed a steady hand on her back, anchoring her as she wept. "I'm Samuel Daniels," he said when her sobs had quieted. "Most folks call me Sam." "Lucy Walker," she managed, wiping her face with her sleeve. "What brings you to Pine Ridge, Mr. Daniels?" "Just passing through on my way north." He paused, studying her with concern. "Do you have someone waiting for you at home, Mrs. Walker?" The question brought a fresh wave of bitterness. "No. My husband left last winter. Said he couldn't handle frontier life anymore. Headed east without looking back." She laughed hollowly. "Guess he made the right choice. Didn't have to watch our son die." Sam's jaw tightened. Some men don't deserve the title. The wind picked up, bringing a chill with the approaching night. Lucy shivered in her thin dress. "You should head home before dark, Mrs. Walker," Sam said, rising to his feet and offering his hand. Lucy stared at it for a moment before accepting. Her legs had gone numb from kneeling so long, and she stumbled slightly as she stood. Sam steadied her with a gentle grip. "Thank you," she said, reluctantly releasing his hand. "For sitting with me." Sam nodded, replacing his hat. "My campsite's just beyond those trees. If you need anything during the night." He trailed off, seeming to realize the impropriety of his offer. Lucy managed a small, sad smile. "I'll be fine, Mr. Daniels. I've gotten used to being alone." She turned toward the path leading back to town, then hesitated. "Will you be moving on tomorrow?" Something in her tone must have betrayed her hope that he wouldn't, because Sam's expression softened. "I reckon I could stay a day or two. My horse could use the rest." Lucy nodded, not trusting herself to speak again. With a final glance at her son's grave, she walked away, feeling Sam's eyes on her until she disappeared around the bend. The cabin was just as she'd left it, clean but lifeless. The silence pressed in around her as she lit the lamp and moved about her evening routine by rote. She paused at the door to Benjamin's small bedroom, unable to cross the threshold. His toys remained where he'd last played with them, his small boots by the bed. Lucy closed the door and leaned against it, sliding down until she sat on the floor. The emptiness of the house echoed the emptiness inside her. She had survived her husband's abandonment by focusing all her love on her son. Now, with Benjamin gone, there was nothing left to live for. The thought came to her with frightening clarity. She could join her son. In the pain. Who would miss her? The townsfolk who whispered about poor Lucy Walker behind their hands? A knock at the door startled her from these dark thoughts. Lucy scrambled to her feet, hastily wiping her eyes before opening it. Sam Daniels stood on her porch, hat in hand, a burlap sack at his feet. "Forgive the intrusion, Mrs. Walker, but I thought you might not feel up to cooking this evening." He lifted the sack. "Just some rabbit stew. Nothing fancy." Lucy blinked in surprise. "You cooked for me?" "Yes, madam." He shifted uncomfortably. "I can leave it and go, if you prefer." The aroma of the stew reached her, and Lucy suddenly realized she hadn't eaten all day. Her stomach growled traitorously. "Please, come in," she said, stepping back. "And it's just Lucy." Sam nodded, picking up the sack and entering. "Then I'm just Sam." He moved with surprising ease in her small kitchen, finding bowls and spoons without having to ask. Lucy watched him, struck by the incongruity of this tall, trail-worn man carefully ladling stew in her tidy home. They ate in silence at her kitchen table, the food simple but satisfying. Lucy found herself studying him when he wasn't looking. His hands were calloused but clean, his movements deliberate and controlled. He wasn't handsome in the conventional sense, but there was character in his face, strength in the set of his jaw. "Thank you," she said when they'd finished. "I didn't realize how hungry I was." Sam nodded, collecting their bowls. "Grief takes a toll on the body as well as the spirit. You sound like you've known your share." He began washing the dishes, his back to her. "I've buried more friends than I care to count. Lost my parents young. My sister." He paused, hands stilling in the water. "My wife and daughter, 12 years ago." Lucy's breath caught. "I'm sorry. What happened?" "Influenza." The word carried the weight of old pain. "Swept through our town in Colorado. Took half the population in 2 weeks." "And you've been alone since then?" Sam nodded, drying his hands on a cloth. "Moving place to place. Working cattle drives, breaking horses. Never staying too long." "Does it get easier?" Lucy asked softly. "The loneliness?" Sam turned to face her, his expression somber. "You find ways to carry it, but it never truly leaves you." Lucy nodded, understanding all too well. "Will you tell me about them? Your wife and daughter?" For a moment, she thought he might refuse. Then he sat down across from her again, his eyes distant with memory. "Catherine was a schoolteacher. Smart as a whip and twice as kind. Our Emma had just turned 7. She had her mother's eyes and my stubborn streak." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "She wanted to be a doctor. Used to practice bandaging her dolls." Lucy smiled sadly. "Benjamin wanted to be a sheriff. Wore a little tin star his father gave him everywhere he went." They talked long into the night, sharing memories of their lost loved ones. For the first time since Benjamin's death, Lucy felt the crushing weight of grief ease just slightly. Here was someone who understood, who didn't offer empty platitudes or awkward sympathy. When Sam finally rose to leave, Lucy felt panic rising. "Where are you staying tonight?" "Got my bedroll down by the creek. Don't worry about me." Lucy hesitated, then said, "We have a barn. It's not much, but it's better than the open ground." Sam studied her face. "People might talk." "Let them," Lucy said with sudden fierceness. "I stopped caring what this town thinks when not one person offered to help me nurse my son through his fever." Sam nodded slowly. "I'll get my things." After he'd settled in the barn, Lucy returned to her empty house. She sat on Benjamin's bed, holding his small nightshirt to her chest. But tonight, alongside the grief, there was something else, a tiny spark of connection to another human being who understood loss. She fell asleep thinking of Sam's words. "Let me carry your tears." Perhaps, just for a little while, she could let someone help shoulder her burden. Morning brought a clarity Lucy hadn't experienced in days. She rose early, washed her face, and braided her hair neatly. When she stepped outside to pump water, she found Sam already at work, repairing her sagging porch steps. "You don't have to do that," she said, setting down her bucket. Sam looked up, hammer in hand. Floors rotted through in places. Could be dangerous. Lucy felt a pang of guilt. These repairs had needed attention for months, but between caring for Benjamin and working at the general store, she'd never found the time. "At least let me pay you something." Sam shook his head firmly. "I'm not taking money from a widow." "I'm not actually a widow," Lucy corrected him. "Thomas is still alive, as far as I know. Just gone." Sam's expression darkened. "A man who abandons his family is lower than a snake's belly, in my estimation." Lucy didn't disagree. "Still, I can't accept all this work for nothing." Sam straightened, wiping sweat from his brow. "How about breakfast, then? I haven't had a home-cooked meal in months that didn't come from my own pot." Lucy smiled, her first genuine smile in days. "I think I can manage that." Over breakfast, Sam outlined the other repairs the cabin needed. "Roof's got some weak spots that'll leak come winter. Chimney needs repointing. Window frames are loose." Lucy sighed. Thomas was never much for fixing things. Always said he'd get to it tomorrow. "Some men are long on promises and short on delivery," Sam observed. "What about you?" Lucy asked. "Were you the fixing kind?" A shadow crossed Sam's face. "I built our cabin with my own hands. Added on a room when Emma came along. Was working on a proper schoolhouse for the town when the influenza hit." Lucy reached across the table and touched his hand briefly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up painful memories." Sam shook his head. "It's all right. Sometimes remembering the good parts helps with the rest." After breakfast, Lucy watched from the porch as Sam continued his repairs. She should have been heading to her job at the store, but Mrs. Green had told her to take the week off. "Time to grieve," she'd said. But Lucy suspected it was more about not wanting a grieving mother upsetting the customers. Around midday, Lucy brought Sam water and sat beside him as he rested. "You're good with your hands," she observed as he whittled a new peg for the loose porch railing. "Necessary skill out here," he replied. "Man who can't fix what breaks doesn't last long on the frontier." "Is that what you do? Fix broken things?" Sam looked up at her, his eyes serious. "Some things can't be fixed, Lucy. Some losses can't be undone. But that doesn't mean what remains isn't worth mending." Lucy felt a lump form in her throat. "And what if what remains doesn't seem worth the effort?" Sam set down his knife. "That's not for me to decide. Only you know what your life is worth to you." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "But I will say this, your boy wouldn't want you following him to the grave." Lucy gasped softly. Had her thoughts of the previous night been so transparent? "I've seen that look before," Sam explained gently. "In the mirror, after I'd buried Catherine and Emma." "What stopped you?" Lucy whispered. "Nothing noble," Sam admitted. "Just couldn't bring myself to waste the life they'd have given anything to keep." He picked up his knife again, resuming his work. "And later, I found there were still sunrises worth seeing. People worth helping. Small moments worth experiencing." They sat in contemplative silence until Lucy stood and dusted off her skirt. "I should start dinner. You'll stay again tonight?" Sam nodded. "If you're sure it's no trouble." "It's no trouble," Lucy said softly. "It's nice not to be alone." As the days passed, Sam completed one repair after another. Lucy's cabin gradually transformed. The roof stopped leaking, the chimney drew properly, the windows ceased rattling in their frames. Each morning, she expected him to announce his departure, and each evening, she felt relief when he accepted her invitation to stay just one more night. They fell into an easy rhythm. Lucy cooked their meals and tended her garden while Sam worked on the cabin. In the evenings, they would sit on the porch, talking sometimes, other times just existing in comfortable silence. Lucy visited Benjamin's grave daily, but now she stayed only long enough to replace the wilting flowers and say a quiet prayer. A week after Sam's arrival, Lucy returned from the general store to find him constructing something in the yard. "What are you building?" she asked, setting down her basket of supplies. Sam straightened, wiping sweat from his forehead. "A proper marker. For Benjamin." Lucy moved closer, examining the partially carved piece of oak. Sam had already etched Benjamin's name and dates with painstaking care. "It's beautiful," she whispered, tracing the letters with her fingertips. "I thought." Sam hesitated. "I thought we could place it tomorrow, if you're ready." Lucy nodded, blinking back tears. "I'd like that. The next morning, they walked together to the cemetery. Sam carried the finished marker, now oiled and polished to a warm glow. He had carved a small sheriff's star above Benjamin's name, a detail that brought fresh tears to Lucy's eyes when she first saw it. They worked together to set the marker firmly at the head of the small grave. When it was secured, Lucy arranged fresh wildflowers while Sam stood respectfully a few paces back. "Thank you," she said when she had finished. "This means more than I can express." Sam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Would you like some time alone with him?" "No," Lucy said, surprising herself. "No, I think he knows what's in my heart." As they walked back toward town, Lucy became acutely aware of the curious glances directed their way. Sam's presence at her cabin had not gone unnoticed, and the gossip had evidently spread. "People are talking," she murmured. Sam's jaw tightened. "Let them. You've done nothing wrong." "I don't care about their opinions," Lucy clarified. "I just don't want them making things difficult for you." Sam chuckled without humor. "I've weathered worse than small-town gossip, Lucy." As they passed the general store, Mrs. Green emerged, her thin face pinched with disapproval. "Lucy Walker." "A word, if you please." Lucy sighed. "I'll catch up with you," she told Sam, who nodded and continued walking, though she noticed he didn't go far. "Yes, Mrs. Green?" The older woman lowered her voice to a scandalized whisper. "Have you lost your mind? Hosting a strange man at your home, parading around town with him? What would your poor husband say?" Lucy felt a surge of anger. "My poor husband abandoned me and his son over a year ago. And Mr. Daniels has been kind enough to make repairs to my home that Thomas never bothered with." Mrs. Green's expression hardened. "Be that as it may, you're still a married woman, and appearances matter in this town." "My son is dead, Mrs. Green," Lucy said coldly. "I've discovered that appearances matter very little in the face of real tragedy." She turned to leave, but Mrs. Green caught her arm. "I'm afraid I can't keep you on at the store if this situation continues. Think of our reputation." Lucy extricated her arm from the woman's grasp. "Keep your job, Mrs. Green. I resign." She walked away, trembling with a mixture of anger and liberation. Sam fell into step beside her as she passed him. "Everything all right?" he asked, concern evident in his voice. "I just quit my job," Lucy said, still processing the reality of what she'd done. Sam frowned. "Because of me?" "No," Lucy replied firmly. "Because it was past time I stood up for myself." They walked in silence until they reached the cabin. Lucy sat heavily on the newly repaired porch steps. "I have no idea how I'll survive now," she admitted. "The store barely paid enough to keep us fed, but it was something." Sam sat beside her, his expression thoughtful. "What can you do, besides work in a store?" Lucy considered the question. "I can sew well enough. Cook, garden." She laughed without humor. "All the things that don't earn real money." "Don't be so sure," Sam said. "Town's growing. New families arriving. They need clothes mended, bread baked. Could be there's opportunity there." Lucy looked at him skeptically. "You think I could make a living as a seamstress?" "Why not? You're skilled, hard-working." He gestured to her neatly mended dress. "Your own clothes speak to your ability." Lucy felt a flutter of hope. Perhaps, but it would take time to establish such a business. Sam nodded, his eyes on the horizon. "I've been thinking of staying in the area for a while. There's good grazing land north of here. Might be worth investing in." Lucy tried to ignore the leap her heart gave at his words. "You're considering settling here? What happened to never staying in one place too long?" Sam turned to look at her directly. "Maybe I found a reason to stop running." The intensity of his gaze made Lucy look away, her cheeks warming. "Sam, I'm not asking for anything, Lucy," he said gently. "Just telling you my thoughts." Before she could respond, the sound of approaching riders drew their attention. 3 men on horseback were coming up the road toward her cabin. Lucy didn't recognize them, but from Sam's sudden tension, she sensed trouble. "Get inside," Sam said quietly, standing and moving in front of her. "Who are they?" "No one good." His hand moved to rest near his holstered revolver. "Please, Lucy." "Inside." Something in his tone made her obey without further question. She retreated into the cabin but stood near the window, watching as the riders approached. The men reined in their horses a few yards from where Sam stood. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with a scar running down one cheek, leaned forward in his saddle. Well, if it ain't Samuel Daniels," he drawled. Thought you'd be halfway to Canada by now. Vance, Sam acknowledged, his voice neutral. What brings you to Wyoming? The man called Vance grinned unpleasantly. Funny thing, we were passing through Cheyenne when we heard talk of a man matching your description headed this way. He glanced toward the cabin. Seems you found yourself a cozy little setup. I'm just helping a widow with some repairs, Sam said evenly. Then I'll be moving on. Vance laughed. Always the gentleman. But we both know you're running, Sam. Question is, how much is it worth to you to keep that pretty lady in there from learning why? Sam's hand moved closer to his gun. Say what you came to say, Vance. $500 buys our silence and our absence. Seems fair, considering what's at stake. I don't have that kind of money. Vance shrugged. Then I reckon we'll have to stick around. Get to know the locals. His eyes shifted to the cabin. Starting with your widow friend. Lucy saw Sam's shoulders tense. Leave her out of this. That's entirely up to you, Vance replied. We'll be at the saloon in town. You've got until tomorrow noon to bring the money. He tipped his hat mockingly. Give the lady our regards. The riders turned their horses and headed back toward town. Sam remained motionless until they were out of sight, then came quickly to the cabin. I need to leave, he said without preamble as he entered. Those men are trouble, and I won't bring it to your doorstep. Who are they? Lucy asked. What do they want with you? Sam ran a hand through his hair, his expression troubled. It's complicated, and not something you need to be involved in. I'm already involved, Lucy countered. Those men threatened me, didn't they? Sam's silence confirmed her suspicion. Tell me the truth, Sam, she insisted. What are you running from? Sam sank into a chair, suddenly looking tired. It happened about 8 months ago. I was working as a ranch hand in Colorado. The owner, Harrison, was a cruel man. Treated his workers like slaves, beat his wife. He paused, jaw clenching. One night, I came across him whipping a young ranch hand for some minor mistake. Boy couldn't have been more than 16. Lucy sat across from him, her heart pounding. What happened? I intervened. Things got heated. Harrison drew his gun. Sam's eyes met hers. I was faster. You killed him, Lucy whispered. Sam nodded grimly. Self-defense, but Harrison had powerful friends. The local judge was his brother-in-law. I didn't stand a chance at a fair trial, so I ran. He gestured toward the door. Those men are bounty hunters. There's a $1,000 reward for my capture. Lucy processed this information, studying the man across from her. Did you have any choice? When Harrison drew on you? No, Sam said simply. It was him or me. Lucy nodded slowly. Then I believe you. Sam blinked in surprise. Just like that. I've spent a year with people pretending to care while judging me behind my back, Lucy said. I've gotten good at recognizing honesty. She leaned forward. You're not leaving. Lucy, these men are dangerous, so we'll figure something out, she insisted. Together. You don't understand what you're saying, Sam argued. They won't hesitate to hurt you to get to me. And what's your plan? To keep running forever? Lucy stood, pacing the small room. There must be another way. Sam watched her, a mixture of admiration and concern in his expression. These aren't men you can reason with, Lucy. Then we don't reason with them, she replied firmly. We outsmart them. For the first time since the riders had appeared, Sam smiled slightly. You're a surprising woman, Lucy Walker. So I've been told. She sat back down. Tell me everything about these men. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits. As Sam talked, Lucy listened intently, her mind working through possibilities. By the time darkness fell, they had formulated a plan risky, but with a chance of success. You don't have to do this, Sam said as they prepared for bed. I could be gone before dawn. They'd follow me and leave you in peace. Lucy shook her head. I'm tired of watching people I care about disappear from my life, Sam. I won't add you to that list without a fight. Their eyes held for a long moment. Get some rest, Sam finally said. Tomorrow will be challenging enough. Lucy nodded, retreating to her bedroom. As she lay in the darkness, she realized with startling clarity that somewhere along the way, this drifting cowboy had become important to her. The thought should have frightened her, but instead, it gave her a sense of purpose she hadn't felt since Benjamin's death. Tomorrow, they would face the bounty hunters together. And whatever happened, Lucy knew she was finally ready to fight for something again. Morning came too quickly. Lucy dressed with care in her best dress, her hair neatly arranged. Sam watched her preparations with a worried expression. You can still change your mind, he said as she pinned her hat in place. I haven't had anything worth fighting for in a long time, Lucy replied. It feels good to have a purpose again. Sam stepped closer, his eyes intense. Lucy, if something goes wrong, it won't, she interrupted. Have faith, Sam. His hand caught hers, holding it tightly. You've given me something I thought I'd lost for good. If we get through this. He trailed off, unable to finish. Lucy squeezed his hand. When we get through this, we'll have that conversation. Sam nodded, releasing her hand reluctantly. Let's go, then. They walked to town together, their plan clear between them. Lucy would enter the saloon first, playing the role of a concerned neighbor who'd discovered Sam's true identity. While she distracted Vance and his men, Sam would position himself strategically outside. The saloon was nearly empty when Lucy pushed through the batwing doors. It was still morning, and only a few dedicated drinkers occupied the tables. Vance and his companion sat in the corner, playing cards. They looked up as she approached. Well now, Vance drawled, his eyes traveling over her inappropriately. What brings a lady like you into an establishment like this? Lucy drew herself up, channeling Mrs. Green's righteous indignation. Are you the men who visited my property yesterday? Vance exchanged amused glances with his companions. That would be us, madam. Hope we didn't disturb your arrangement with Daniels. Mr. Daniels is not what he claims to be, Lucy said, injecting anger into her voice. After you left, I demanded answers. He admitted everything. This caught their full attention. Vance set down his cards. Did he now? Lucy nodded. He's planning to run. Said he'd be gone before you returned today. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. But I know where he's heading. Vance's eyes narrowed suspiciously. And why would you tell us this? Because he lied to me, Lucy said fiercely. Made me believe he was a decent man helping a widow. I want nothing more to do with him. The bounty hunter studied her face for a moment, then smiled slowly. Where is he now? Packing his things at my cabin. But he plans to slip out the back way, through the woods behind my property. There's an old trapper's cabin about 3 miles north where he intends to hide until nightfall. Vance stood, gesturing for his men to do the same. Much obliged for the information, madam. We'll make sure he gets what's coming to him. Wait, Lucy said as they moved toward the door. How do I know you won't just kill him? I was told there's a reward for bringing him in alive. Vance paused, his expression calculating. That's right. Dead or alive, but alive pays better. He patted the gun at his hip. Don't you worry your pretty head about it. We're professionals. As soon as they left, Lucy counted to 30, then followed. Outside, she could see the men mounting their horses, preparing to ride to her cabin. Sam was nowhere in sight, exactly as planned. Lucy moved quickly down the boardwalk toward the sheriff's office. Sheriff Mills was a reasonable man who had shown kindness after Benjamin's death. She prayed he would listen now. Sheriff, she called as she entered the office. I need your help. Sheriff Mills looked up from his desk, surprise evident on his weathered face. Mrs. Walker? What's wrong? Lucy took a deep breath. There are bounty hunters in town. They're after a man named Samuel Daniels who's been staying at my property, helping with repairs. Mills frowned. Bounty hunters? What's the charge against this Daniels fellow? They claim he killed a man in Colorado. But it was self-defense, Sheriff. Lucy's voice grew urgent. The victim was a ranch owner who drew first. The local court was corrupt. The judge was the dead man's brother-in-law. Mills rubbed his chin thoughtfully. That's a serious accusation, Mrs. Walker. Do you have any proof? Only Sam's word. But I believe him. Lucy met the sheriff's gaze steadily. These bounty hunters threaten me to get to him. They're dangerous men. Mills stood, reaching for his hat. Where are they now? Headed to my cabin, looking for Sam. But he's actually at the livery stable. This was the crucial part of their plan. He's getting evidence that will prove his innocence, letters from witnesses to the shooting who were too afraid to speak up at the time. This was a lie, but one they hoped would buy enough time for the next phase of their plan. Do these bounty hunters have legitimate papers? Mills asked, checking his revolver. I don't know, Lucy admitted. But they're planning to take Sam by force, not through legal channels. Mills nodded grimly. Let's head to the livery, then. I'd like to hear Mr. Daniels' side of things directly. They walked quickly to the livery stable. Sam was waiting inside as planned, tending to his horse. He looked up warily as they entered. Sheriff Mills, Lucy said, this is Samuel Daniels. Sam straightened, his hand drifting toward his gun before he caught himself. Easy, Mills said, raising his empty hands. Mrs. Walker here says you're in some trouble. Something about a shooting in Colorado. Sam's eyes flicked to Lucy, who nodded encouragingly. Yes, sir. Ranch owner named Harrison pulled a gun on me when I tried to stop him from beating a boy half to death. I shot in self-defense, but the local law was in Harrison's pocket. Mills studied Sam's face. Got any proof of that? Only my word, Sam admitted. And the word of some cowhands who witnessed it, but were too scared to speak up against Harrison's family. These bounty hunters, Mills continued. They have proper authorization papers? I doubt it, Sam replied. Vance isn't known for doing things by the book. He's in it for the money, not justice. Mills considered this information. Here's how we're going to handle this. You'll come with me to my office. We'll wire the Colorado authorities, get the full story. If what you say checks out, I'll help clear your name properly. And if it doesn't, Sam asked, then I'll have to hold you until proper authorities arrive. Mills' expression was firm but fair. But no one's taking you anywhere without due process. Not in my town. Sam looked to Lucy, a silent question in his eyes. It's our best option, she said softly. Better than running forever. After a moment, Sam nodded. All right, Sheriff. I appreciate the chance to clear my name legally. As they left the livery, a shout from down the street caught their attention. Vance and his men had returned to town and spotted them. There he is, Vance called, spurring his horse forward. Mills stepped in front of Sam, his hand on his revolver. Hold it right there, he commanded as the riders approached. This man is in my custody now. Vance reined in his horse, his expression darkening. We've got a legitimate bounty on this killer, Sheriff. Step aside. Show me your papers, Mills demanded. Vance hesitated, exchanging glances with his companions. That's what I thought, Mills said. No authorized paperwork. In this jurisdiction, that makes you no better than kidnappers. Now see here. Vance began, but Mills cut him off. No, you see here. This man will get a fair hearing. I'm wiring Colorado today to verify his story. If he's wanted legally, he'll face proper justice. If not, he goes free. Mills' voice hardened. And you three have until sundown to leave my town. Vance's hand twitched toward his gun, but with 3 against 1, the odds weren't in his favor. This ain't over, Daniels, he growled before turning his horse. Come on, boys. We know where to find him when the sheriff learns what kind of snake he's protecting. They watched as the bounty hunters rode away, their postures radiating menace. They won't give up that easily, Sam warned. No, Mills agreed. Which is why you're staying in my jail until this is sorted out. For your protection as much as anything. As they walked to the sheriff's office, Lucy's hand found Sam's briefly. It's going to be all right, she whispered. Sam squeezed her fingers. Thank you for believing in me. At the sheriff's office, Mills locked Sam in a cell for appearance's sake, then sat down to draft telegrams to the Colorado authorities. This may take a few days, he told Lucy. Court records, witness statements, that sort of thing. Lucy nodded. I understand. May I visit him? Mills smiled slightly. During daylight hours, yes. Lucy approached Sam's cell. I'll bring you dinner later. Lucy, Sam said quietly, if this doesn't work out if they find against me, I want you to forget you ever met me. Understand? Don't get yourself tangled up in my troubles. Lucy reached through the bars to touch his cheek. Too late for that, Samuel Daniels. I'm already tangled. The next few days passed with excruciating slowness. Lucy visited Sam daily, bringing meals and news from town. Vance and his men hadn't left as ordered, instead taking rooms at the hotel and making their presence felt throughout Pine Ridge. They made no direct threats, but their message was clear. They were waiting for the law to run its course. On the 3rd day, Sheriff Mills received the first responses to his telegrams. His expression was guarded as he read them. What is it? Lucy asked, fear clutching at her heart. It's from the territorial governor's office, Mills said. Confirms there is indeed a warrant for Samuel Daniels in connection with the shooting death of Clayton Harrison last September. Lucy's heart sank. But what about the self-defense claim? They're looking into it. I've requested statements from other ranch hands present that day. Mills folded the telegram. For now, Daniels stays in custody. Lucy nodded, trying to hide her disappointment. She went to Sam's cell to deliver the news. It's what I expected, he said calmly. Harrison had powerful connections. Sheriff Mills is still gathering evidence, Lucy assured him. We're not giving up. Sam reached through the bars to take her hand. Lucy, I need to tell you something. In case things don't go my way. Lucy shook her head. Don't talk like that. Please, he insisted. Just listen. He took a deep breath. I've been running for so long. I forgot what it was like to care about someone, to have someone care about me. These past weeks with you, they've meant more than I can say. Lucy felt tears threatening. Sam, let me finish, he said gently. Whatever happens, know that you helped me remember there's more to life than just surviving. You showed me it's still possible to find joy, even after terrible loss. His fingers tightened around hers. I think I'm falling in love with you, Lucy Walker. The words hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Lucy's heart raced as she realized the truth of her own feelings. I think I'm falling in love with you too, she whispered. Sam's expression softened, a mixture of joy and sadness. In another life, with different circumstances. No, Lucy said firmly. In this life, with these circumstances, we'll find a way, Sam. I promise. 2 more days passed with no further news. On the morning of the 6th day, Lucy was tending her garden when she heard riders approaching. Looking up, she saw Sheriff Mills accompanied by a well-dressed stranger. Mrs. Walker, Mills called as they dismounted. This is Mr. James Peterson from the governor's office in Cheyenne. He'd like to speak with you about Samuel Daniels. Lucy wiped her hands on her apron, apprehension gripping her. Of course. Please, come inside. Once seated at her table with coffee served, Mr. Peterson opened his briefcase and removed several documents. Mrs. Walker, we've been conducting a thorough investigation into the Harrison case, he began. Several witnesses have come forward, confirming Mr. Daniels' account of the events. Lucy's heart leapt. So he's been cleared? Peterson smiled. Yes, madam. The governor has reviewed the evidence and determined that Mr. Daniels acted in self-defense. The warrant has been rescinded. Relief washed over Lucy like a cool rain. Thank God. There's more, Peterson continued. It seems Harrison's treatment of his workers was even worse than initially reported. Several former employees have filed complaints, painting a picture of a man who regularly abused his authority and endangered those under him. So Sam is free to go? Lucy asked. No charges. Free and clear, Peterson confirmed. We're releasing him today. Lucy could hardly contain her joy. Sheriff, may I accompany you back to town? I'd like to be there when Sam hears the news. Mills nodded, an understanding smile on his weathered face. Of course. The ride to town seemed to take forever, though in reality, it was less than 20 minutes. Lucy's mind raced with possibilities. Sam was free. They could start over, build something together if that's what he wanted. The future suddenly seemed bright with potential. As they approached the sheriff's office, however, Lucy's happiness dimmed. Vance and his men were lounging outside, clearly waiting for news. Stay behind me, Mills instructed as they dismounted. Vance straightened as they approached. Well, Sheriff, what's the verdict on our fugitive? Peterson stepped forward, his official demeanor commanding respect. Samuel Daniels has been cleared of all charges by the territorial governor. The warrant has been rescinded. Vance's expression darkened. That's impossible. Harrison's family has no authority over the territorial courts, Peterson interrupted. The evidence is clear. It was self-defense, plain and simple. We came all this way for nothing, one of Vance's companions growled. I suggest you gentlemen move on, Mills said firmly. Your business here is concluded. For a tense moment, it seemed Vance might challenge them. His hand hovered near his gun, his face contorted with anger. Then, with a muttered curse, he turned away. Come on, boys. This town ain't worth the trouble. They watched as the bounty hunters mounted and rode out, their postures rigid with frustration. They'll be back, Mills predicted. Men like that don't give up easy when money's involved. By then, we'll have official paperwork distributed to all jurisdictions, Peterson assured them. They won't find any sheriff willing to help them pursue a man cleared by the governor himself. Inside, Sam was on his feet, having heard the commotion. Lucy? What's happening? Lucy rushed to his cell, her face radiant with joy. You're free, Sam. The governor's cleared you of all charges. Sam stood frozen, disbelief written across his features. Truly, Peterson approached, official papers in hand. Truly, Mr. Daniels. Self-defense, as you claimed. We have statements from 3 former ranch hands corroborating your account. As Mills unlocked the cell door, Sam stepped out slowly, as if afraid it might be a dream. His eyes found Lucy's, questioning. It's real, she assured him, taking his hands. You're free. Without hesitation, Sam pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. I never thought, he began, his voice thick with emotion. Lucy clung to him, tears of joy streaming down her face. I told you we'd find a way. Sheriff Mills cleared his throat discreetly. There are some papers to sign, Mr. Daniels. Then you're free to go wherever you please. Later, as they walked back to Lucy's cabin in the golden afternoon light, Sam seemed lighter, years of burden lifted from his shoulders. What will you do now? Lucy asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Sam stopped, turning to face her. That depends. On what? On whether a certain stubborn, brave, beautiful woman might consider a future with a former fugitive turned free man. Lucy's heart swelled. She might, if he's planning to stay in one place for a while. Sam took her hands in his. Lucy Walker, I've been running for so long, I forgot what it felt like to have a home. But these past weeks with you, even with all the trouble, it felt like coming home. I feel the same, Lucy whispered. After Thomas left, after losing Benjamin, I thought I'd never find joy again. But then you knelt beside me at my son's grave and offered to carry my tears. Sam's eyes softened at the memory. I meant it then, and I mean it now. Whatever burdens come, I want to share them with you. The sorrows and the joys. Are you asking what I think you're asking? Lucy's voice trembled slightly. I'm asking if you'd consider becoming Lucy Daniels. Not right away, we should take our time. Do things properly. Sam's expression grew serious. I know you're still legally tied to Thomas, but there are ways to address that. And I know I can never replace Benjamin in your heart, nor would I want to. Benjamin would have loved you, Lucy said softly. Almost as much as I do. Sam's face lit up at her words. Is that a yes? It's a yes, Lucy confirmed, joy bubbling up inside her. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Sam pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a tender kiss that held both promise and healing. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling. Come on, Lucy said, taking his hand. Let's go home. In the months that followed, Lucy and Sam built a life together step by step. With Sam's carpentry skills and Lucy's determination, they transformed her small cabin into a warm, welcoming home. Lucy established herself as the town's seamstress, her reputation for fine work growing with each passing week. Sam found work breaking horses at a nearby ranch, his honest nature and hard work quickly earning him respect. Lucy filed for divorce from Thomas on grounds of abandonment, a process that would take time but brought her a sense of closure. In the evenings, she and Sam would sit on their porch, planning their future together, perhaps a larger home, land of their own, maybe even children someday when they were ready. They visited Benjamin's grave together each Sunday, bringing fresh flowers and sharing stories about their week. Lucy found comfort in imagining her son looking down on them, pleased to see his mother happy again. A year after Sam's name was cleared, they stood together in Sheriff Mills' office, exchanging simple vows. Lucy wore a dress she'd made herself, ivory satin with delicate embroidery. Sam, cleaned up and nervous in a new suit, couldn't take his eyes off her as she walked toward him. You look beautiful, he whispered as she joined him before the sheriff. So do you, Lucy replied with a smile. Their ceremony was small but meaningful, witnessed by the few townsfolk who had become true friends. Afterward, they rode to Benjamin's grave, laying Lucy's bridal bouquet against his marker. We wanted to share this day with you, little one, Lucy said softly, her hand in Sam's. You'll always be part of our family. That night, as they lay together in their bed, now husband and wife in truth, Lucy felt a sense of peace she'd thought lost forever. Thank you, she whispered against Sam's chest. For what? For stopping that day? For kneeling beside a grieving woman and offering comfort? Sam kissed the top of her head. Best decision I ever made. Do you think we'll have children someday? Lucy asked, voicing the question that had been on her mind. Sam's arms tightened around her. I'd like that. When you're ready. I think I'm getting there, Lucy admitted. Not quite yet, but soon. No rush, Sam assured her. We have time. 2 years later, on a crisp autumn day, Lucy gave birth to a daughter they named Emma Catherine Daniels. As she placed their newborn in Sam's trembling hands, Lucy saw in his eyes the same mixture of joy and fear she felt in her own heart. "She's perfect," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "She is," Lucy agreed, exhausted but radiant. "And she'll know all about her big brother in heaven." Sam nodded, gently rocking their daughter. "And about her namesakes. My Emma and Catherine would have loved her." As their family grew, adding a son they named Thomas Benjamin 2 years later, Lucy and Sam never forgot the grief that had brought them together. They carried it with them, not as a burden, but as a reminder of the preciousness of life and love. Sometimes, Lucy would still find Sam standing at Benjamin's grave, talking quietly to the boy he never met but came to love through Lucy's stories. And on difficult days, when memories threatened to overwhelm her, Sam would hold her close and whisper the words that had first opened her heart to healing. "Let me carry your tears." Their life together wasn't perfect. They faced hardships, disagreements, and the ordinary challenges of frontier life. But they faced them together, finding strength in each other and in the knowledge that they had both survived unimaginable loss and found their way back to joy. On their 10th anniversary, as they sat on their porch watching Emma and Thomas chase fireflies in the twilight, Sam took Lucy's hand in his. "Any regrets?" he asked, his eyes reflecting the same love she'd seen that first day at Benjamin's grave, now deepened by years of shared life. Lucy shook her head, leaning against his shoulder. "Not one. Every tear led me here, to you, to our family, and I wouldn't change a thing." Sam kissed her gently, the touch of his lips still sending warmth through her after all these years. "Neither would I, my love. Neither would I." As darkness fell over the Wyoming prairie, Lucy Walker Daniels looked at the life she'd built from the ashes of her grief, her husband, her children, her home, and felt profound gratitude. The pain of loss would always be with her, but so would the joy of having loved, of continuing to love. And that, she had learned, was the greatest healing of all.